Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday night Anamkara meditation program. And with all my heart and with all my love, I welcome you to our program this evening and to my home, really, because that's where we're coming from. So a great pleasure. I was just thinking we're almost 9 months into being on this Zoom broadcast and away from our physical center. And it's been great to see how much that's been working out for people and how much people have been telling me that they really feel both the energy and appreciate the time for getting immersed in meditation. So thank you all for coming, and thank you for bringing with you your divine presence, yourself. That's our gathering is all about sharing satsang. Sat means the truth and keeping the company of the truth. Well, each one of you is the embodiment of that. And so thank you for coming. Thank you for bringing the power of your practices and intention to this evening. Tonight is the second Thursday of the month, so we're going to be doing a kind of reading and contemplation. But first we'll be starting with the opening mantras. And you're welcome to chant along, or you're welcome to listen. And as you listen and chant, with that awareness that mantra is a throb of the infinite, it's inviting us to leave behind the mind and go to the source, to the truth of who we are. All the practices that we share here are all about coming home to the infinite, our boundless nature, the self. And so the mantras are a way of both helping to calm the mind and sort of gently set it aside so that the light of the self, which is already there, already luminous, already fully present, now we can see it instead of only seeing the forest of thoughts and feelings and all the things that go through the mind. So we'll start with the opening mantras now. Shrimata Kalim Devi Ki Jai Gajananam Bhuta Ganari Sevitam Kalpita Jumbo Palachar Bhakshanam Umasutam Shokam Vinashakarakam Namami Vigneshwara Parapankajam Shri Ganeshayan Namaha Shri Ganeshayan Namaha Shri Ganeshayan Namaha Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamandaya Purnameva Vashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Mata Kalim Devi Ki Jai. So once again, with all my heart, I welcome you to this evening's program. And that delicious stillness, that silence, that mantra brings us into is the source of mantra, the source of our very being. It's the source of our mind, it's the source of body, it's the source of all. And so entering that stillness, entering into the spaciousness of just awareness, the ground of our being. That's what the practices keep inviting us back to. And we're going to start with a practice that we've done in the past, and it's a breath meditation on the mantra, the hum and the sa. And Hamsa is an ancient mantra, and it simply means, I am that. And it's said that the Hamsa mantra is being silently, really in a sense, repeated, spoken in our consciousness way in the back with every breath. That the breath comes in with the sound hum and goes out with the sound sa. The breath comes in with the sound hum and goes out with the sound sa. And the Hamsa mantra is that awareness of I am that. I am that, meaning I am all. I am everything. I am all that one perceives within and without. I am all that is beyond what is perceived within and without. I am that. And so it's the mantra that is an expression of pure being. In a sense, the infinite, the auspicious one, Shiva. We were talking last week about Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidananda Rupaha, Shivoham, Shivoham. I am the form of consciousness and bliss. I am Shiva, the auspicious one. Well, Hamsa is exactly that. I am that. I am that boundless consciousness that takes all forms, holds it all within its loving embrace. I am that. So when we do this with the harmonium, it also invites our breathing to slow and deepen. And one of the things that we know, both from the ancient yogic practices, that when we slow and deepen the breath, it helps calm the mind and body. And also now we know through a lot of present-day scientific research that this kind of paced breathing is an extraordinary way of being able to shift things physiologically in the body, to shift things neurophysiologically. And so it helps to calm what's known as that stress response, the fight, flight, freeze response, just by helping the breath to calm and deepen. And that helps to calm the mind. And then the truth of who we are can more and more easily be experienced directly in that spaciousness, in that boundless awareness. So it's going to be hum on the inhalation and sa on the exhalation. Hum as the breath comes in and sa as the breath goes out. So you want to start with exhaling. And now, inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling, exhaling. Hum. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling, exhaling. Breath comes in with hum, goes out with sa. Silently, the hum on the inhalation, and silently in the mind, the sa on the exhalation. slowing down the breath so it's right in pace. Coming back, just your ordinary breath. But continue to be aware of the hum and the sa, the I and that, I and that, and all that is, I and that. That's the truth. That's the highest, the direct experience of that. The experience of the divine. This is how the infinite experiences the universe. I am all this, nothing left out, everything held in the divine embrace, the very being of the infinite, all there, all one. That's what we come home to. And that's really what the reading contemplation is for tonight. Is going to be a selection from the Avadhuta Gita. And the Avadhuta Gita is an ancient script. And this is a translation by Swami Ashokananda. And he was a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and Swami Vivekananda. And an Avadhut is one who's gone beyond, one who lives in that absolute ecstatic state of rapture, union with the Godhead. I mean, beyond, really beyond words, beyond description. And their living presence is a teaching. And Bedi Baba, Bhagavan Nityananda, the guru of my teacher, Swami Muktananda, was known as an Avadhut, because they're also often unconventional, because they're not bound by ordinary societal norms. But they're always this radiant being radiating the highest truth, and to be in their company. And we get to be in the company of Dattatreya, was the Avadhut, the great Siddha master, who comprised these 8 chapters of verse known as the Song of the Avadhut. Gita is the song, like the Bhagavad Gita is the song of God. The Avadhuta Gita is the song of the Avadhut. The Avadhuta is really referring to you and me. This is our real nature. But it's this pristine awareness. And it's way beyond the ordinary mind and what the ordinary mind is used to entertaining as thoughts or beliefs or anything. And really, contemplation, in a sense, and contemplation of great texts like this, they're almost like yoga for the mind. You know, like if you're doing hatha yoga and you're doing asanas, part of it is to help stretch the body, to loosen it up, to allow it to be fluid and alive and present. And when we're stretching, we're also helping the body to get free of sort of its rigidity. It's how muscles might be contracted, and to loosen all that up. So when we're doing a contemplation on a text like this, in a sense, that's what it's doing for the mind. Because the mind has to stretch. The mind has to really expand to be able to get into the full presence of the kind of sublime truths that things like the Avadhuta Gita, or last week when we were talking about the Nirvana Shatakam, Shankaracharya's exquisite text, the 6 stanzas on Nirvana, or when we do at the end of the month, the Bhagavati Prajna Paramita Hridaya, the Heart Sutra. That's Buddha's trying to give words and express that reality that he was experiencing directly in that moment. Well, in a sense, that's what Dattatreya has bequeathed to us through these writings in the Avadhuta Gita. And so it's his way of trying to put into words what's beyond words, put into concepts what is beyond all concepts. So there are paradoxes, and it stretches the mind to try and stay with this. And that's part of what contemplation as an exercise does, it helps to loosen us up, because all day long we're entertaining thoughts of ordinary self, ordinary me, ordinary I, and it's very contracted, it's very small, we're very used to it, and so we can feel comfortable in that, and this might make us a little uncomfortable because it's stretching us beyond that, but that's exactly what we need to do in order to be able to fully enter that realm of being, that realm of knowing that's beyond the mind. And the mind so defines us, so confines us, imprisons our consciousness. So these kinds of texts, even though they're words and they're writings and they're thoughts, they're inviting us to go beyond. They're pointing to what's beyond. So we approach it with that kind of understanding, okay? So this is the Avadhuta Gita, and we don't know when it was written. In fact, Dattatreya, this extraordinary being who wrote this, is mentioned in Puranas thousands of years ago in ancient texts. But there's no record of him. Like there's a record of Shankaracharya, there's a record of Buddha. All we have are mentions of him in other ancient texts. So this is, and it to me is quite fitting, because the truth that he is passing on to us is the eternal truth. It's as ever present and full now as it was then. And that's why it still serves as a way of drawing us into the truth of who we are beyond the mind. So the Avadhuta Gita starts like this. This is chapter 1. And Dattatreya writes, "Through the grace of God alone, the desire for non-duality arises in the wise to save them from great fear." So right away, he's pointing out a teaching that even seeking that, even wanting to go beyond the mind, even wanting to be free, wanting to go into a non-dual state, that itself is a gift of the infinite. That itself is a form of grace, awakening that there is something beyond the ordinary mind. He goes on to say, "How shall I salute the formless being, indivisible, auspicious, immutable, who fills all with his self, and also fills the self with his self?" Fills all with his self. All of creation is filled with the divine, including the little self. So the difference in that also fills the self with his self. That first, the little self, that means even our I consciousness, even our ordinary mind, comes from the infinite, comes from the divine, is filled with that. That is its nature. The universe, comprised of the 5 elements, is like water in a mirage. Oh, to whom shall I make obeisance? I, who am one and taintless. See, all is verily the absolute self. Distinction and non-distinction do not exist. How can I say it exists? It does not exist. I am filled with wonder. See, the essence of the whole of Vedanta is this knowledge, this supreme knowledge, that I am by nature the formless, all-pervasive self. This is non-dual. This is the highest Vedanta. This is Advaita Vedanta. There is nothing but the self. Hamsa is that awareness. Hamsa is Vedanta. Hamsa, to enter that direct experience, is to come home to the truth of who you are. And then it resounds as a mantra to reach out and draw in consciousness that repeats the hum and the sa and becomes absorbed in that. Become absorbed in that, you become absorbed in infinite. He goes on to write, "I indeed am immutable and infinite, and of the form of pure knowledge. I do not know how or in relation to whom joy and sorrow exist." To whom? There is no separation. There is no other. How can anything exist outside of the one who is filled with consciousness and bliss? Chidananda Rupaha. I have no mental activity, good or bad. I have no bodily function, good or bad. I have no verbal action, good or bad. I am the nectar of knowledge, beyond the senses, pure. The mind indeed is of the form of space. The mind indeed is omnifaced. The mind is the past. The mind is all. But in reality, there is no mind. So first he points out that the mind, because to the mind, that's all there is. Its thoughts, its perceptions, the wide openness space. But there is no mind. There is no limited self. That's what he's inviting us to know through this. I, the one only, am all this, beyond space and continuous. How can I see the self as visible or hidden? It's not hidden. It's fully present. But he's saying it's actually beyond that, because it's neither hidden nor visible. And what is that? The mind can't grasp that. That's what he's saying. It's beyond these pairs of opposites. It's not graspable by the mind. It's not going to fit into some tidy little concept that the mind can then feel, oh, I got it. No. No. The mind is present. It's caught in its little self. Now he goes on. Thus you are one. You are this one. This is your nature. Why then do you not understand that you are the unchangeable one, equally perceived in all? O mighty one, how can you, who are ever shining, unrestricted, think of day and night, light and darkness? These are nothing to the self-luminous one. That's our nature. You are that one. Know the self always to be everywhere, one and unintercepted. I am the meditator and the highest object of meditation. Why divide the indivisible? There's not a meditator and something you meditate on. There's not a meditator and the infinite that you meditate on. There's only the one. We have to even drop that. Drop that and you're dropping the mind. Drop that, you're dropping the ego mind that's identified with, what am I doing? The mind likes to do things. I think I'll do meditation. Maybe I'll do asana. Maybe I'll do mantra. It clings to its self through that sense of little doing. To drop that there is no meditator and meditation. There is no object of meditation. These are all one. These are not separate. You are not born, nor do you die. At no time do you have a body. The scriptures declare in many different ways the well-known dictum, all is Brahman, all is the Absolute, all is the Godhead, beyond name and form, gender, beyond everything, yet encompassing everything. All of this, all of creation, all about the mind, the body, all this stuff exists within that sublime being, held in the knowing of oneness with it all. This is not something the mind can conceive or think its way into. It's beyond that. So we have to give up all thought. We have to give up all conceptualizing. We have to give up the discursive mind to enter that state. Union and separation, he writes, exist neither to you nor to me. There is no you, no me, nor is there this universe. All is verily the self alone. Just the one. It's like that poem in Kali's Bazaar. It goes, "Oh my beloved, what fun pretending there's a we when we both know there isn't even a me." There's no one. No one. Words can say there's someone. They're just words. They're just the words. The mind is that concept strung together by a string of thoughts, a string of words, a string of concepts that gives it the illusion of existence and continuity to which it clings so desperately. Verse 16, you do not belong to that which is composed of the 5 objects of sense, such as sound, nor does that belong to you. You indeed are the supreme reality. Why then do you suffer? For you there is no birth or death. For you there is no mind. For you there is no bondage or liberation, no good or evil. Why do you shed tears, my child? Neither you nor I have name or form. He's inviting us. Go to that. Go to that state. Go to that consciousness. Beyond name and form. It's beyond suffering. It's filled with rapture. It's filled with knowing. It's self-luminous. There's no limitation, no bondage, no suffering there. So all the great beings, Buddha, Dattatreya, Shankaracharya, all proclaim the same truth. Come home to that. Live that. Know that. Live it into the world. Your world be illumined by the infinite sun. The light of the self. Once you know that, then you experience it everywhere. When you're walking outside and the sun is illuminating the street, the path, the wandering road through the forest, whatever it's illuminating, you see, you know it's being illuminated by the sun, and that's why you can see all those forms. That indeed all the forms have sprung from the sun in some way. In the back we know that. That's what it is to live in the self-luminous presence of the self all the time. Knowing this is all illuminated. This is all the self dancing in forms, playing at this, playing at that. Then we live that and walk it into the world. Oh mind, why do you wander about, deluded like an unclean spirit? Behold the self, indivisible. Be happy through renunciation of attachment. So you verily are truth. You're devoid of change. You're motionless. One, of the nature of freedom. Your very nature is freedom. You have neither attachment nor aversion. Why do you suffer seeking the objects of desire? See, all the scriptures say that the truth is without attributes, pure, immutable, bodiless, and existing equally everywhere. Know me to be that. Now he's like speaking right from the self. Know me to be that. That's you speaking to you. There is only the self. You are the self. Can you hear it saying, know me. Know me to be that. Twam, you are that. Hamsa, I am that. This is what this is all pointing to. But it's to live into it. That's where we then come to know the rapturous experience of that, the loving embrace of that, that lovingly embraces all of creation, nothing left out. Know that which has form to be ephemeral, false, but that which is formless to be eternal. Through the instruction of this truth, there is no longer rebirth in the world. Sages say that reality is only one and the same, and through renunciation of attachment, the mind, which is one in many, ceases to exist. The mind ceases to exist when we go into that boundless state of the infinite, our own true nature. The ordinary mind, meaning the mind that has you identified with it, you bound by it, gone, gone, gone. Like in the Heart Sutra, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhi swaha, gone, gone, gone beyond, completely beyond. Hail the goer. That's you. This is the same as Buddha mind. If it is the nature of the not-self, how can there be samadhi? If it is of the nature of the self, how can there be samadhi? If it is both is and is not, how can there be samadhi? If all is one in the nature of freedom, how can there be samadhi? Samadhi, not samadhi. Nirvana, not samadhi. Not nirvana. These are all concepts for the mind. You are pure, homogeneous reality, disembodied, unborn, immutable. Why do you think of yourself as, I know it here, or as, I do not know? Knowing, not knowing, it's the nature of the limited mind, not the truth of who you are. You embody it all. By such sentences as, thou art that, your own true self is affirmed. Of that which is untrue and composed of the 5 elements, the scriptures say, not this, not this, not this. Neti, neti. Who am I? I'm the mind. Not that, not that. Who am I? I'm the body. No, not that, not that. Neti, neti. Not this, not this. You are the homogeneous reality. You are pure, bodiless, birthless, imperishable. Why then do you have any delusion about the self? Again, why am I myself deluded? When the truth of who you are is this self-luminous, all-pervading one, how can you speak of being deluded, of being bound, of suffering? When the pot is broken, the space within is absorbed in the infinite space and becomes undifferentiated. When the mind becomes pure, I do not perceive any difference between the mind and Supreme Being. There is no pot. There is no pot's interior space. Neither is there an individual soul, nor the form of an individual soul. Know the absolute Brahman, devoid of knowable and knower. Know me to be that self, who is everything and everywhere at all times, who is eternal, steady, the all, non-existent and existent. Have no doubt. See, there are no Vedas, no worlds, no gods, no sacrifices. There is certainly no caste, no stage in life, no family, no birth. There is neither the path of smoke nor the path of light. There is only the highest truth, the homogeneous Brahman, your true self. You are that one. That's what all of our practices are aimed at coming home to, is knowing that. And even when we're contemplating and hearing, a great being who's putting it at best as one can with the limitations of words and thoughts and forms, but trying to make it available to at least give something for the mind to begin to approach. That's what it means to have, a pure thought. It's still a thought, but it's pure in the sense that it points to the undifferentiated unity consciousness of our own being, rather than what's called impurity, means separation, taking as real our limited self, our limited identity, bound by mind, body, gender, roles, all the things that we inhabit. Pure thought, and when we run those pure thoughts through the mind, it starts to give the mind the space to be able to come into true and direct knowing. It won't happen through thought, but that kind of thought, in a similar way that mantra leads into the stillness, the spaciousness of being, where all thought can dissolve with a direct experience of that luminous, infinite, boundless light of the self, is all there is. Then that light, that direct knowing, illuminates the mind, the body, all of creation, seeing it all as one's own self, one's own being. There is no other, only that self. So that's why Hafiz, in the poem we looked at last week, was talking about, taking birth and wanting to live to the day when the sword would drop from a warring person's hand, when they realized there is no other, there is only one flesh. Who else is there to wound but that one, our own self, our own being? To set aside all differences and to look with loving compassion at all as our own self. That's what we come home to. That's why we do these practices. That's what it means to have satsang, to keep the company of the truth. Satsang is something you keep throughout the day by coming back to that, helping to balance the mind that is automatically going into, oh, this is different, this is separate, this is horrible, this is wonderful, I don't like this, I want that. Breathe and let it go. Open the spaciousness that goes beyond that, goes into that boundless embrace. So that even when we see the mind going about taking care of its tasks for the day, even that mind is the highest self. That's why Dattatreya was saying, the one, the infinite, God, gives his self to all of creation, gives his self to the little self. We want to know that directly. To know that directly, we do the practices and become absorbed. To know that directly, ultimately, is a gift of grace. That's the power of Shakti, in the yogic system, Kundalini Shakti. It's that power that cuts through that root avidya, that root ignorance, that has us believing we're not that infinite one, we're the little one. It takes that power of grace that created that illusion to open our awareness fully. And mantra is one of the pure forms of that awakened energy that we call Kundalini Shakti. So now we're going to be chanting the Maha mantra, the great mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And Om Namah Shivaya is a proclamation of that. It's I bow to the auspicious one. But we do it with the awareness of I am the auspicious one. That's all there is. The mantra is the auspicious one. The one bowing is the auspicious one. The spaciousness of pure awareness is that holds of that. That's all there is. A thought arises in the stillness of meditation. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. You bow to everything as Shiva, the auspicious one. You open your eyes, all that you see, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, is all the auspicious one. So we can use the vehicle of mantra to come back to that awareness and dissolve the pain and suffering that comes from, I'm so limited, I'm so stuck, I'm this, I'm that. No, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. You are Shiva. You are the auspicious one. Come home to that. Know it directly. So we're going to chant the mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, for a few minutes, and then just sit in the stillness, the spaciousness of pure being and awareness. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shrimata Kali Mahadevi Ki Jai. Shiva We end with this prayer. And may all our practices truly benefit everyone. And may all beings know complete freedom from suffering. Namaste. So coming back to the one. So all Dattatreya is talking about is knowing the truth of who we are. Living that truth, experiencing that, knowing it completely. And his words, those words arise from the divine. They arise from the self. And it's like God speaks through the pure mind, and those words become our scriptures. So when we inhabit those words, we begin inhabiting the truth that comes from the divine itself. Tattvamasi, thou art that. Hamsa, I am that. Om Namah Shivaya, I bow to that in all its forms. That's the truth of who you are. The truth of your sublime self. The mind is a wave in the ocean of the infinite. Waves don't give rise to the ocean. The ocean gives rise to waves. All that you are. It's the infinite becoming wave after wave after wave. But know that the pure thought comes from that pure knowing. I am that. It's beyond thought. But at least those thoughts point in the right direction. So we contemplate, we keep coming back to that. Because the ordinary mind keeps proclaiming how finite you are, how limited you are, how bound you are. And then drives so many ways of seeking and wanting and needing that don't reflect the truth of who you are. So coming home to that truth gives us the fullness of our own being. Like the divine is saying, come on, wake up. You're right in my embrace. You're in my loving embrace. All you have to do is wake up and you'll see you're already there. No place to go. You're already there. You've just been caught in this dream. I know I created the dream. Now it's time to wake up. So we can know what it is to be in that loving embrace. It leaves nothing and no one out. This is the truth. This is who we are. This is what we're capable of knowing. of walking into the world, of living this truth. So through mantra, through practices, through contemplation, through seva, through japa, through repetition of mantra, we keep the mind coming back to the truth of who we are. You are my very self. See, I can only talk to myself. Knowing that that's what you see everywhere, your own sublime self. So keep the practices alive with that truth. Let the mind, the ordinary mind makes things ordinary. So it thinks in ordinary ways about extraordinary, boundless consciousness. Don't confuse what the mind thinks about it with what is. Come to know what is. That's you in all your fullness. And so next week, we'll be doing more chanting as another practice of bringing us in to what the aim of all the practices are, the living truth, the ecstasy, the rapture, the knowing, the clarity of vision. That's our nature. So I want to thank you all for coming this evening and for being who you are. You are the self. You are that one coming in to this world to know and to serve, to bring that knowledge into wherever you walk, whoever you're with, at any time, in any place. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being who you are, for engaging in practice, for having that commitment and that intention, and bringing it here this evening. Thank you. And thank you for the many ways that you all support Anam Cara through sharing our YouTube channel and sharing the e-newsletter and making donations. It's so deeply appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so we will be back next week. And again, with all my heart and with all my love, thank you for being you, my own sublime self, and coming this evening.